interesting. I mean, I have seen a lot of dancers and a lot of different performers have relied on gimmicks and tricks to actually, get their, to justify their name or keep them known. And I'm glad that I never in my career have ever had to rely on any gimmicks or any tricks. I was just straight up dancing, and it still came off as a fantasy, but then that payoff when we saw the string, it's like even though it busts certain people's in the bubble, certain people's bubble in the fantasy aspect, most real dance and people who appreciated dance, they looked at it and they said, "Whoa, wait a minute! He did all that with that cheap prop. It was good stage, good staging and good, choreography."
Another question that a lot of people often ask about Breakin is a question about the most famous extra in the film. Do you know who was the most famous extra in the film Breakin?
Yeah, of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
So that really was him, then, right?
Yeah. That was a treat to find out years later. I mean, I remember being on the set and seeing this guy. He didn't really talk to too many people, but I remember him stretching, and doing his famous martial arts stretch.
Right.
But years later, it just became the talk of the town. I mean, people were like, "Did you see Jean-Claude Van Damme in that film?" It was really interesting. In Breaking 2, the lady that was playing Shabadoo's jealous girlfriend was the late Sonny Bono's wife. That's Susie Bono.
I didn't know that. Susie
Bono, and there was a radio disc jockey, a famous radio disc jockey in New York, Frankie Crocker. He's on the stage at Miracles Dance Theater. But yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme, he beats all the extras. I mean, that was the guy.
It's definitely things that fans point out, but say what you want, Breakin' certainly has become the legendary film that it has. It's an icon, make no mistake about it. And that leads me to question 6. Whereas Breakin' is really the iconic film, Breakin' 2 has become somewhat of a stepchild of the genre.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Breakin' 2?
The way that I feel about Breakin' 2 was I felt happy that we had another job because,
right.
I mean, by Breakin' 2, I realized, wow, we had star status. We weren't just dancers. They let us act in the film. We were getting the chance to act again. So I was like, okay, now this is not only a cool job, but I took it because it was a gig, but I didn't have the same attitude of proving something. I just wanted to just kind of take the job and work with my friends again. But I think that they rushed the film because they thought that they probably thought that the dance craze was going to die out and they wanted to cash in and ride the crest of the wave. But I was a little disappointed because, I mean, we were all friends.
Right.
Me, Shabadoo, Pop and Taco, and we all had that camaraderie, and I wanted everybody to have their chance to shine, but they really didn't give Pop and Taco any lines. He didn't have the same dance solos that he had. They just like demoted him. Right. He had already had kind of like star status in Breaking 1. They didn't even allow him to be the leader of the group. They didn't give him any lines, and so I was really disappointed with that, and I realized really quick that my friends started slipping away. I mean, after Breaking, we became stars. I mean, global stars in our own right, and a lot of the dancers that got left behind, they got kind of jealous of us, because it seemed like everywhere we went, it was like we would upstage them by our star status, so people were like, okay, well, I don't want to hang out with Shabadoo and Boogaloo Shrimp anymore because they're the it guys, and we're left, kind of like in their shadows. And so that Breaking 2 kind of broke up a lot of friendships and, distanced us from our friends.
Right. Well, as a fan, I think it certainly left a sort of a bad taste in all of our mouths. We were expecting, truly a sequel to Breakin', and then Breakin' 2 really disappointed a lot of us because, as you mentioned, we didn't get to see Poppin' Taco. We didn't really get to see the grittiness, the rawness of Breakin' that we had hoped for. Other than, of course, the one scene with you in the room, the film was kind of a wash for many fans. I'm curious, during this time period, and this goes to question 7, did you ever have any chance to meet New York's crews? Of course, they had Beat Street, and this film was big. And did you ever get a chance to have any competition, any battles, or any interaction with New York's breakdancers?
Well, it was really interesting. We went to the Cannes Film Festival, which was we were there while Harry Belafonte and everybody else was pushing their films, and Beat Street, and sure enough, Rocksteady crew was there, and Crazy Legs, and then we could see the tension was like, okay, well they were stars, they were the star dancers of Beat Street, but none of the Rocksteady really had a lot of lines. They just had like bits and pieces of stuff, but they weren't like the lead characters in the movie, so there was like a jealousy thing. And I remember when we went out to a dance club, you know, Rocksteady and all them, Crazy Legs, you know, he was like, you know, he was just trying to dance and upstage us basically, and we really didn't have that much to prove. We were stars. In the movie, you know, we knew that we didn't have to really rely on our dancing. We were there at the Cannes Film Festival as actor dancers, and so there was a little tension there. But what was really fun was just before I did the movie Breakin', my first trip to New York City was with Lionel Richie on his All Night Long tour. And I remember when we got there, the local breakdancers heard that we were in town, and I met Pop Master Fable, I met Mr. Wiggles, and I met a group called the Dynamic Breakers, and they were really just into trying to show us like what they had, and that got me really into appreciating break dancing, like the floor work. And then years later, I would say 1990, 96 and 97, I was able to work with Ken Swift from Rocksteady. Ken Swift, him and I and Mr. Wiggles, we were on a hip-hop off-Broadway musical tour called Jam on the Groove. And we toured around, and while we were working together, you know, we exchanged styles, and that was really, I learned to appreciate breakdancing from the original way it's supposed to be executed.
Any film of that performance floating around? Those performances?
You know what? The guy, Mr. Wiggles from New York, he has on videotape, he has the performances on videotape, but he's being smart about it, I guess for legal reasons. He hasn't like put it out there for sale on DVD, but I'm sure that somebody could probably get a hold of him. I mean, you look under Mr. Wiggles Business or MrWiggles.com or I think it's Wiggles Business or Mr. Wiggles Biz, B-I-Z, and you could probably email him and find out if you could get a copy of that. But he was taking footage like left and right of everything that we were doing, and matter of fact, I think he has footage of a battle. I helped him out, and he battled these Japanese dancers at a club, and he called me while I was in the hotel, and he said, "Shrimp, you got to come out and help me." And I was like, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah, there's too many of them." And so I went out while we were taking a break from. We had just finished the tour, and I was getting ready to go to sleep, and he called me up, and so I went out to the club, and that video I want a copy of because we were doing some incredible stuff. It was him and I against all these really talented dancers in Japan.
Wow. Well, can you get a copy of it? I mean,
you know what? I'm gonna pursue that because you got to remember, hip hop has become an industry now. So people that have any footage like him, they try to make a buck here and there, and so sometimes people don't want to give away things. But I'm gonna pursue trying to get a copy of that because that would be great to post.
It would be. Well, you could sell it. I mean, if you guys would get together and produce a DVD, people like myself, and I'm sure there are tens of thousands of us that would love to buy something like that.